discovering the sense of self. And it's being in your body. It's learning about your breath. It's being with your breath. It's looking at the mirror and seeing who is looking. Integrative medicine for me, or functional medicine, plays a lot in that it's not about fighting the disease. It's about discovering what message that disease has for you. You can, whenever you fight something, you only empower it. And so in modern medicine, in Western medicine, where I come from originally, you don't treat the person, you treat the disease. And by treating the disease, you become the disease. And so I remember being in my medical residency training in New York, where I realized very early on that my patients were being referred to as their diseases. The cancer patient, the cardiovascular patient, or worse yet, sometimes they would refer to the patients as their bed number. Dr. De Mello, can you go see bed 24? And I really knew from the beginning that there was something not quite jiving about that we were depersonalizing the person and empowering the disease. And it was a long journey for me to be able to be trained in something that I didn't believe so that I could do then what I believed. And in residency, you do what they tell you. And so along the way, I was learning things that I knew would never work for my patients, that they would keep coming back and back for more and more of the Band-Aid approach. So functional medicine for me, as the name implies, or integrative medicine, it integrates all parts of the individual. So if we are a pie in the sky, there are several pieces of that pie. There's our ancestry, there's our culture, there's our family, there's our sense of being. Are we happy? And if we're not happy, why we're not happy? And part of that pie is the disease. So for me, if you take the word apart, this is what you have left when you take the these is ease. And that's what I want my patients to understand. That it's not about fighting something that will eventually become bigger than they are. It's about looking into the mirror. It's looking into themselves and saying and asking, why this condition and why now?
Yeah. So basically, not what you are, but who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Maria, why? Obviously, we have this traditional and ancient link. Some of the Ayurveda specialists I know personally trace Ayurveda way back before the Vedas. Huh? Some of the Ayurveda specialists I talked to in London, and some of the textbooks I've written on Ayurveda, date the system of Ayurveda way, way, way before the Vedas. And if you look into the history, you'll find that's pretty accurate. So we have this really ancient tradition which is closely connected to yoga. But in the modern sense, and especially in South America, how does your traditional learning, your traditional teaching and learning of Ayurveda in the modern setting and relate to the indigenous population of South America, for example? What's that connection with Ayurveda and the local or the indigenous teaching of Ayurveda?
Great question. Thank you. Well, Ayurveda, for me, it was a life path. And in many traditions in South America, they have the same type of, rituals and connection, because Ayurveda, what is the main goal in Ayurveda is deep alignment between body, mind, and soul. And in many South American traditions, they are searching for the same. So we are trying to do the same with different languages, but it's almost the same. Like as Edison was telling, not only treating the disease, but trying to see what is the message behind what is happening to that person. I believe that to heal, like in many traditions, we need not to try to fix everything. I think that in the modern world, we are constantly looking for control, trying to control diet, what we do, and in this ancient medicine, it's more about surrendering, like trusting in the universe, trusting in our body wisdom. I always say that when the body is ready, it will heal. When the heart feels safe, it will heal. And when the mind feel security and peace, it will heal too. So sometimes it's not just looking and trying to fix things, it's allowing, to flow the divine grace and everything that we are listening here, it's also all these events, all this that we are doing is also medicine. We are very used to think that medicine is what we take into the mouth, but listening to all this wisdom, being in this, energetic border here in Rishikesh, having these great vibes, this is also medicine. And this was taught like many thousands of years ago in many different cultures, going back to our roots and trying to align to ourselves, not just thinking about the body. We are not just the body, as you know for sure, but trying to search for health in a deeper level, to connect, to understand ourselves. Because I think that true healing happens when we wake up. That's what we really need. Wake up to the real truth and to who we really are. Well, thank you.
Thank you. If we just keep that same thread going, Krushna, your awakening, how did you personally come to your Parmarth, to your lineage? How did it occur? What was your what happened in your life to bring you to start to heal people and start to do the therapies and the techniques, this ancient wisdom that you've applied now very successfully for a long period of time? How did you come about that? What was your own personal journey to get there?
Thank you. I was waiting. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, it turned green. Nice. I like green. Yeah, green is the color. Oh, this is a beautiful question. How do I say your name right? Stuart.
Yeah.
Stuart. Awesome. That's a great question. So for everyone who's here, I just love you. And I'm glad you're here. Yes, I think you should clap for yourself. Yeah, you deserve it. Now, 25 years ago, believe it or not, my parents were practicing, and they've been known as the healers for the Dalai Lama, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, and they travel regularly to 15 countries, 60 cities all over the world. Now, in that process, one day mom says, "Look, Pankaj, I'm pregnant." He says, "What?" "Yeah. How do I travel?" "How are you gonna travel?" "I don't know." "No, you cannot travel. In pregnancy, you cannot travel. It's the worst thing to do for your child, and especially the mental health." So she stayed in, and the moment I was born, it was about 6 months they waited, and dad was frustrated. "Why are you waiting 6 months? Just bring him to the clinic. He'll understand everything." "No, no, we have to wait. At least feed him. At least let him get. So at the age of 6 months, they got me in the clinic, and they sat me down on their lap and said, "Krushna, look, this is how you touch the pulse." So I did not believe that. I thought it's a story until they showed me a picture. Then I saw videos of me doing marma on people. And since the time I can remember, coming back from school, my real education began, which was in the clinic. I saw people walk out, roll in a wheelchair, walk out. I saw months later, like initially someone comes who's having diabetes or liver failure or cannot walk, are some people in a coma, and I saw them in front of me wake out of a coma. One of the experience where I myself did that because Papa said, press this, do this, do this. So it's been about 25 years since I've been doing this. And I just got my doctor's degree to practice. So now I say Dr. Krushna. But I like Vaidya Krushna more. And even in the journey of practicing, learning, I treated, I think, one of the head of the department and different things. So that's just because mom and dad, what they did was so focused on how do we solve chronic health challenges and in the simplest way possible. So this is how I'm here today. And I love just being here. I love all of us here, so it's so fun.
Was it a Buddhist tradition that you were trained in? Was it
good question.
Was it a Buddhist tradition, or did it come from Tibet?
Not exactly Tibet. What happened was when Papa passed out of his college, he called himself a nobody doctor from a nowhere city. Nobody knew him, and he had a maybe theory that someone came with a headache. Oh, maybe it's acidity. Maybe it's this. Maybe your wife fight with you, or maybe you hit your head somewhere. Let's give something for everything. But nothing worked. And one day the patient stopped coming. So maybe I helped him. Maybe he died. Maybe somewhere else he found a better healer. He met the patient, and that patient looks insanely better. He looks younger, can walk, jump, skin is better. He says, what happened? Did I help you? No, Dr. Naram, you didn't. Of course I didn't. So that's when he said about a master, and he met his master. His master lived up to 125, who had a master who lived up to, they say 145, who had a master, who had a master, who had a master. The original master was the Buddha's personal physician. And we have these handwritten texts at home. Some of them are about 1100 years old, which the moment you touch it, they turn to dust. So I grew up learning from them, and my mission is to safely translate each of them, put them in a very good, cloud-based version, so everyone has access to it. And I just want to make sure that this is available. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is the answer. I hope that answers, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure you'll be able to expand on things during the session. Ramkumar, many years as an Ayurveda practitioner, many years, I'm sure, many patients, many experiences. But for you, the single most important facet of your experience from when you were young, how did you acquire that knowledge? Where did it come from? You have a lineage of masters. Yourself, were you part of a lineage, or was it something you just decided to study from being a businessman or a lawyer or whatever? Was it something that came to you as a lineage, as a Parampar, or was it something you decided to undertake after following a different career?
Well, while he comes from a lineage, I am far from a lineage in terms of my parents had nothing to do with Ayurveda. My grandfather had something to do with Ayurveda, but my parents were far away from Ayurveda. I grew up far away from Ayurveda. For a long time, I thought Ayurveda is nothing but nonsense. It didn't make any sense to me. I landed up in Ayurveda college accidentally and thought I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. But, somewhere towards the middle of my studies, I came across these words defining health, like sukha and sama. Sama is a word that yoga students also know very well. Sukha is more in the Ayurveda territory. Sukha is health, sukha is happiness, sama is balance. But what is more interesting for me is the same letter sa in both sukha and sama. And this letter sa is related to the base of the spine, the Mooladhara chakra, the lowest chakra, connected with the Agni Devata, the fire, indicating transformation, leading to stability. The quality associated with the letter Sa is stability. Transformation leading to stability. And I thought that is very interesting. And then as you go through each of these aksharas and their gods, you learn so much. You just look at the word Ayurveda and look at all the syllables and the gods and the actions associated with each syllable, you will find that it covers the entire gamut of the healing process. It's beautiful. The word Ka, Sukha, Ka, the syllable Ka stands for Ganga Devi. Jannavi is the goddess associated with Ka, meaning to flow. And the quality is Papanashanam, destroys the impact of our karmas. So it started dawning on me how profound this knowledge system is. It is, it goes far beyond curing. It's very deep. It is not about curing. It is not about healing. It is about living and being. And that is what really attracted Ayurveda to me. Curing is easy. You know, you get a disease, you cure it, it's the easiest thing to do. But healing is where you are working at the level of the body, the mind, and the karma. And that is when it really works at a deeper level. And that is the journey that I have enjoyed. Understanding Ayurveda in its deepest sense. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Ramkumar. We look at all the esteemed guests. I want just to look at yourself for a little moment before Ganga is going to talk to you a little bit about her personal development in this field of ancient wisdom and modern healing. How many of you, just ask yourself, what did you do before you got here? Were you a lawyer? Some people gave me a job as a lawyer, poor people, okay? So were you a teacher? Were you a businesswoman? Were you a sports person? Were you a Pilates teacher? What was your occupation before you came to yoga, before you were called? So in LA, you managed to do a degree in cellular, molecular cell biology and psychology, and then you decided to jack it all in and come to be in Seva on the banks of the Ganga. So how many of you have done this? I'm sure if you all raise your hand, did you have another profession before you got here? Because definitely before I was a yoga teacher, I was many things, from a back-end programmer to a lawyer to a potential professional golfer to lots of things I can't even tell you about because they're illegal, okay? But I'm sure we'd like to know how you got from having your degree in molecular cell biology and deciding you wanted to devote your life to Puja Swami and Sadhviji and Maganga. How did you make that? That is a quantum leap for most people to end up here.
Thank you, Stewart. I think yesterday also and today we're following a similar theme, but there was a lot of experience sharing yesterday's session. And I think there's a common denominator, even though each of us, our approach might be different, but our seeking is the same. And so I think you're going, there is something that needs to be relooked there. And I think whatever our profession may be, whatever our socioeconomic background might be, whatever social identity we come into this world with may be, but if we are sick and we are in disease, it causes us to stop and to relook at where we are and what we are doing. And I had that moment of being somebody who was very ambitious, being somebody who thought, education was my way out into the world, was my way of empowerment and, being somebody. And then I got sick with an autoimmune disorder, which was originally diagnosed as juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, but then later they diagnosed it with lupus. And of course, in the diagnosis also, I was like, okay, well, these doctors don't really know what they're doing. And then when I got the medicines for it, and I was like, well, these are just treating the symptoms of it, but they're not treating the source of it. And actually, I didn't know what an autoimmune disorder was. I mean, I only knew cancer existed that didn't really have a cure, but there was so many hosts of disease. Yeah. So I then was open to this idea of exploring other means of health and healing. And I came upon art of living at that time and started doing meditation and yoga. And I was like, how come they don't teach you this in school? I mean, I've got math and I've got chemistry and I've got organic chemistry and I've got all these classes and all these sessions. And yet nobody tells you how to manage this. And when I came across yoga, I came across spirituality, I was so taken aback, and I was like, what is this? And how do I learn more about it? And where do I go? And then slowly, as I was doing yoga and meditation, and service came around. And when I started doing service as part of my practice, I was like, wow, there's a way of doing action that doesn't exhaust you. That at the end of the day, you're not stressed by it, that it actually is adding energy to, your physical body might need the rest, but you're not exhausted by it. And I was like, well, what is seva, And so all of that inquiry, that hunger that then took, form, brought me to that's how I ended up here. And if I just take a minute more, just to add that, I'm on this panel with people who are either from a lineage or who are far more experienced than I am in these fields. But I don't have a doctor in front of my name. And all I can say is that grace and blessings and being on the banks of Ma Ganga and being at the lap of the Himalayas, being in the service of sages and saints, this gives you an ability to be a channel. And I am so blessed to be that channel. Originally, when I was serving in the yoga festival, people would be seeing me in different ways being of service, And then when I ended up on the schedule as a yoga teacher, people were like, oh, you're teaching this year? Promotion. And I was like, well, I don't understand why service is also not seen as like the most beautiful form of yoga, because what the sevaks have to deal with and have to integrate and make happen is absolute yoga. And so, and now, like, when people were like, oh, you're speaking? So it's like, I think it goes to our perspective, you know? Like, why do we have to see that which is only on the stage and not how we live? Because that's what health is. It's that wholeness, it's that holistic living. If you're being given 10 million instructions and how do you integrate it, that's yoga. You know, if you're walking down and you give somebody a hug and ask them how you're doing, that's yoga. You know? And so I think I've learned that, and I continue to learn that every day. And that's what's so beautiful about this journey, is being able to see that yoga is the ultimate technology to health and healing, and that health and healing is through a holistic way of living.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I think that sort of makes the point that academia means absolutely nothing in yoga. Academia means very, very little. I come from a background recently of modern academia, and the time and the place for a PhD in Seva is right now. So if you want to do a PhD or a postdoctorate in Seva, just come to an ashram and do Seva. And you won't get a bit of paper, you won't get DR in front of your name, but you'll do a lot better than some of the academics that are running British educational establishments, that's for sure. To move on, Edison. My fascination started when I was asked to do this with one thing that BKS Iyengar, one of my favorite yoga teachers, Yogacharya BKS Iyengar, said, and he's made it quite clear from his teachings through many years that Ayurveda was not the answer to everything. As one of the world's most renowned Yogacharyas and a practitioner of Ayurveda himself, he said there was a place for Ayurveda and allopathic medicine in his life. And that rung true with me, but I would like, probably one by one, to see, starting with you, Edison, to see how can you relate, or how you can't relate to that statement by Yogacharya BKS Iyengar, where he says that there is room for Ayurveda, but you cannot rely on Ayurveda. You must use allopathic medicine as well when the time is necessary. And I'm sure I can think of many instances that he's referring to, and so can you. But what's your opinion on that statement?
Well, that's a great question. And before I answer it, just want to say that being here and meeting so many people with brilliant lights, and as my dear friend Jack Bush said yesterday, the luminosity of who we are has no boundaries. And so I'm deeply honored to be here on this panel, to be looking at your beautiful eyes, at your smile that lights up the world, and mostly at your curiosity of knowing that there is a better way to get better. And that's my life purpose in medicine, is to show my patients that it's not that allopathic medicine is bad. It's how we look at allopathic medicine. It's how we practice it. When a patient comes into my office with a broken limb, I'm not going to rely on acupuncture or Ayurvedic medicine. I'm going to rely on an X-ray to find out how serious that injury is before I can act. And so for me, what works is bringing the incredible technological advances of Western medicine and combine it with the wisdom of the East. In allopathic medicine, if you have a broken limb, it is going to fix it, but it will never ask you the question, what happened to this perfect system that allowed this to happen, right? Your system is perfect, the same way that you are perfect. And something in that perfection got disrupted that led to the injury. Maybe it was a fall, but the fall perhaps followed disease. To Ganga's point, most of what I learned in medicine was not from people with letters after their names. Most what I learned in medicine was from my patients. When they come in and you look at them in the eye, inevitably they're going to say, well, I don't know. And I say, okay, well, make a guess. If you're writing a script or a book about it, what is the first thing that comes to mind? And when you sit with that patient, give that patient time, he or she will have the answer. We know this. Through a pulse, through Ayurvedic, through somebody who is dealing with an autoimmune disease herself. If you take the word apart, autoimmune, what is it that the body is allowing to happen so that it's attacking itself? If you don't look at it with curiosity, then what you're doing is treating the symptoms, but not the condition that led to that symptom. So we have this tendency in the world to pigeonhole everything, to say Western medicine is bad, Western medicine is basically destroying health. Go towards the Eastern approach, go towards Ayurveda, go towards acupuncture, and when you do that, you actually separate a part of yourself that actually needs both. We've created separation in the whole world. For those of us who come from the United States, we know that. We know that what division can do, not only to the political spectrum, but also to our health. When you see that division, when you see the anxiety, when you have the little butterfly in your stomach, you ask yourself, what's happening in the world that is affecting me? And unless you stop, take a breath, do yoga, or even if you don't do yoga, just allow yourself to ask the question, how am I feeling right now? How is the internet, the social media, the political spectrum affecting me? Then you become a victim to what's happening as opposed to become a warrior to really move your life forward. When somebody comes into my office and says, I have inflammatory bowel disease, I ask them to put their hands on their belly the same way that you do the pose, and I ask them, ask your belly what it needs from you right now. And right here is where your third brain lives. We know that science has shown us that we have three brains. We have our brain, our heart brain, and our gut brain. And when those three brains are separated from one another, the same way we try to separate Western medicine, allopathic medicine, from all the beautiful disciplines out there, we are not curing disease, we're actually empowering it. So when you put your hand in your stomach and you go in there and you massage, the answer is right there. For those of us who have animals at home, especially a dog, the dog lies on his back and he wants to pat him where? In his belly. Why is that? Because that's where the happy hormone lives. And so we are animals in that way. We can go back to our belly, massage it, and ask the question, tell me what's happening. But here's where the rubber meets the road. You need to be able to listen to what your body's telling you, not to the answer you want, but to what the body's telling you. And for those of us who have children or who have the privilege of raising children, there comes a time in our lives that you become the parent to your body, that you feed your body, you protect it from being hit by a car, you put it to sleep. The question is, would you treat your child the same way you treat your body? Would you say your body, stop hurting right now because I have to run to a meeting? Or no, I cannot eat because there's no time for me to eat because people are waiting for me in a board meeting, in a clinic. Do you listen to your body's needs and have the willingness to really treat it as your own child, where when a child needs you, you drop everything and you listen to that child and you give that child what he needs? So allopathic medicine, when used correctly, combined with the wisdom of the East, has no boundaries. The problem is not allopathic medicine. The problem is how it's practiced by some of my colleagues out there that see nothing beyond what's in front of them, which is disease. They forget to look at the patient's eyes and empower the patient, knowing that the answer doesn't lie within me and the letters after my name. The answer lies with them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Maria, just to re-emphasize, the
Thank
point of discussion was the quote from Mr. Iyengar,
Yeah, thank you,
that
Stu.
we have this necessity for both.
Yeah.
How does that fit in with your teachings and maybe your own personal routines or practices and how you teach?
Thank you,
How you
Stuart.
teach?
First of all, between the allopathic medicine and the ancient wisdom, I don't think we have to choose, but we have to bridge both. We know that modern medicine has done many advances, but I also can see, and probably most of us can see, that there's more anxiety, we are feeling more unfulfilled, we are more disconnected, because I think that modern medicine only emphasizes on the body. And that's like the weak thing. That's why we have to bridge both. I don't think that we have to choose, because like Edison was saying, if, I don't know, a car rushes in front of me, or of course I will go to an allopathic doctor. I won't do pranayamas or no. Of course it will work doing some pranayama, but I will go to the emergency. But for treating who we really are, we need different things. No, because as I was saying, we are so concerned in our body, and of course we have to, we have to treat our body. We have this tool in this life, but it's not our reality. We are spirits having a human experience, and sometimes it's weird, and I try to think why we are so obsessed with our body if it's not real. We work on a lot in our body, we work a lot in our mind, but sometimes we forget about our spiritual practice. And that's what we will take in our next life. And as Stewart was asking me about my practices, I used to be very obsessed with my body and knowledge, when I was young. And that's why I started with Ayurveda. I was burned out. My heart was broken. I was studying medicine and I was feeling unfulfilled. And then I realized that it was this path that came to me like a coincidence. And one day I wake up and I said, I will go to India. I have to go to India. I have to learn. I will go to learn Ayurveda in India. And I came to India trying to find answers to my life. I was asking so many questions to my teachers, and what really happened is that I found myself. And I think that, as Ganga was saying, this happens to many people. It's different to explain, and also it's difficult to explain for me in English because I speak Spanish, that's my native language, but I think that one of the most powerful things I have done in my life is coming to this holy place, and of course opening my mind and my heart to what India and all these sages and the people with all this wisdom could teach me. And about my personal practices, as I was telling you, I used to be very obsessed with diet, exercise. But then I realized that the most important thing is my spiritual practice. So that's also what I will suggest you. The other day, in one of my classes, one student, when I ended the class, she asked me, okay, I understood about the doshas, vata, pitta, kapha, but what is the most important practice? Give me one. No. And I say, well, do your japa, or meditate, or chant some mantra. That's what I find that was really, really helpful in my life, and that's a thing that really connects me. And that I think that is the most important practice that we must do. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So, how do you, with this wisdom and with these teachings that you've got from your masters, when you face situations that seem to be unsurpassable and unsurmountable, is there any room at all for modern medicine in this path of ancient healing? Or are we very dogmatic? Are we very strict upon sticking to natural methods? There was a speaker here yesterday, and she said that natural medicine can cure everything. She said it quite avidly. She was clear that she said, natural medicine can cure everything. Do you believe that natural medicine can cure everything? Or is there some room for some form of deviance towards modern medicine? Because the seminar, the plenary session, is about ancient and modern healing. So a lot of us rely on Lemsips, paracetamol, ibuprofen, Valium, dimorphine. A lot of us rely on these drugs, huh? A lot of us, I know we're aware, we've all been drawn to India. You've all got that, you've all got this in common, yeah? She came to India because she wanted to be healed, she wanted to progress her Ayurvedic path, but if we go back home today and you've got a headache, a lot of these people are going to reach for the paracetamol and the aspirin and the ibuprofen. They're going to reach for the Lemsip when they get a flu. They're going to have antibiotics when they go to the dentist. They're going to get their teeth pulled out, and they're going to take the Novocaine for their filling. Can we really go to the dentist without Novocaine? Have you tried a root canal filling without Novocaine? Because it's very painful. I've had one without Novocaine. I've tried dental work without Novocaine. So is there any room in your lineage for having a place?
Oh my God, I wish I answered this right. This is so cool. Yeah, awesome. Now, growing up in the clinic, I saw one lady come to us, and she says, I have big pain in my chest, and my arm is heavy, and my arm is numb. I'm having cold sweat. So all of these, typically, even normal, anybody not knowing about medicine could tell maybe something to do with the heart, right? So Papa sees her pulse and gently tells her, you're having a heart attack. Oh, Dr. Naram, I know that. That's why I came to you. Said, what do you mean? You know that? Yeah, I know that, and I'm come to you. Doctor warned me that one day you'll get a heart attack. So I prepared myself. I'll know the exact time, how much it takes to reach your clinic. If I think I'm having a heart attack, I'll leave in a rickshaw and come in that much time. So before I die, I'm there. So you mean you want to die here? No, I want you to save me. Then he says, okay, but are you sure? So one of our doctors says, no, Dr. Naram, come here. Look, this is a, how do you say, some blood thinner or something. Just give this to her and give some of our stuff. No, look, she trusts us. She's come here for us. Our duty is to give her our best. And what is a heart attack? Heart attack is nothing to do with the heart. Heart attack is when the vayu that's going up comes down, and the vayu that's coming down starts going up. And they both are clashing. So let's let the vayu correct, and then let's see what happens. If it doesn't work, give her this blood thinner, call an ambulance. Anyways, we're near an hospital, no problem. Okay, but this is on you. I leave the job afterwards. Okay, Dr. Naram. Okay, fine. You leave the job now. I don't mind. Let me start because she is suffering. Let's go. So they rush. Now I learned in front of me, there was a close person who was having a heart attack and the same symptoms. I didn't know this story before. And just a simple way is open the body channels. So we start rubbing dry ginger powder and carom seed powder at the bottom of the feet. Suddenly something happens, but she starts burping. Then we give her a lot of garlic. That man who I saw, but then this lady, the exact same thing was done. All the things are over. Suddenly says the pain is lesser. What do I do next? Says, what do you do next? Now go check if you if you really have a heart attack. By the time she got out, it was what, 45 minutes? Not only the pain went away, arm is okay, everything is fine. There are some blood markers that do indicate you had a heart attack or you were closer to it. And when I witnessed this in person, we were in a village in Italy away from any hospital. And the person suffering said, I don't want to go to a hospital. Dr. Naram, help me. And he also said, I'm going to leave my body, Dr. Naram. I want to be with you. You're my guru. The Papa shouts at him and says, you're going to leave this room in this body. You're not going to leave your body. Let's go, let's fight. So this story is to tell you that there are a few things we don't even know that Ayurveda and Yoga can achieve, which a genuine practitioner who's been in clinic, has seen these cases, can guide you through it. But if you go take a step back, Ayurveda had come looking at the body that we have right now, the 7 tissues, the Saptadhatu, Tridosha, Trimala, and Triguna, the Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Now, if you say that allopathy is fixing something, it's fixing the same body since the 5,000, 10,000 years. We've not had a 8th dhatu or the 5th dosha come up. Not so far, I don't think so. In the pulse, I don't see a 4th finger beating. So, anything that goes in line to what was created will work. And ultimately, Ayurveda has been so called to come from the absolute source. You talked about the fracture treatment, right? You're going to go to an allopathic doctor. But there is something in the Sushruta Samhita called Bhagna Chikitsa. And Bhagna and Sandhi Moksha. Sandhi Moksha are all dislocations and Bhagna are fractures. The very first step of Bhagna Chikitsa is Bhagna Sthapan, meaning to now get that back in place. Now, what we did lose in time was the ability to see how badly it was broken. But they did have a method to see it. We don't have it now, so let's rely on an X-ray. But my ultimate core will be, today, if you say that Ayurveda cannot solve everything, then I would disagree. I think the practitioners today won't know enough to solve everything. And the books that we have don't cover enough to solve everything. Do you know the cataract surgery? There are 12 steps to a cataract operation. The first 6 have been directly taken from the Sushruta Samhita in the chapter from Timir Kach and Lingnash. The entire reconstruction of a nose or basic incisions, all of them come from the Sushruta Samhita. Now there are so many volumes that went missing. The ones I have at home, I am just hopeful that we get something else in that. I think everything can be cured. Don't label it Ayurveda or allopathy. If it's going with how the body was, that is the ultimate medicine. Ayurveda only was a label 5,000 years ago, for lack of a better word. It was far deeper and far supreme. Even yoga is just a label. It ultimately goes to the source and comes from there. I hope this answers.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Krushna. Ramkumar, taking you one step further from that. Taking you to your ancient wisdom, your ancient knowledge. The people who come to see you, obviously you're going to treat the person. Obviously you're going to go through your training. You're going to go through what you've learned since you started studying. But some of your patients, your lovely patients, have got no intention of following what you're telling them to do. You know the wisdom, he knows the wisdom, they know the wisdom. But trying to persuade these lovely people who are going back to New York, they're going back to London, they're going back to Delhi, and they're not going to follow your wisdom. They're going to go straight for the medicine cabinet. How do you persuade in your profession as an Ayurvedic practitioner? How do you persuade people? You can talk about the chakras, the gunas, you can talk about the vayus. Maybe you'll have to explain that to some of these people. They don't know what gunas are or vayus are. I mean, as yoga practitioners, lots of us do, but the people who are coming to you, they don't know a dosha from a kosha. So how are you going to explain to these people in their avidya, how are you going to lift that veil of illusion? How do you find, what's your favorite way, what's your best way of lifting that veil of Maya, lifting that avidya, that nescience?
Well, first we are happy if you don't know doshas. We prefer that you know masala dosa, ghee dosa, plain dosa. So much more interesting than the boring vata pitta kapha. So leave that to the vaidyas, leave that to your practitioners to understand your doshas. Before I come to your question directly, when you ask the question about allopathy or Ayurveda, I was reminded of a quote that came in the WhatsApp University. WhatsApp is sometimes nice. It talks about five eminent people defining the source of happiness. The first was King Solomon, who said, everything lies in the brain. The more you rationalize, logicize, think through, that is when you will know happiness. Then came Jesus Christ. He said, no, happiness lies in the heart. The more you love unconditionally, you will experience true happiness. Then comes Karl Marx. He said, no. Unless your stomach is full, how will you know happiness? Happiness lies in the gut. Then comes Sigmund Freud. He says, no, I don't agree with that. Happiness lies below the belt. There's no way you can know true happiness otherwise. And finally, Albert Einstein comes. He says, everything is relative. And I thought that is beautiful. Everything in this world is relative, and that is exactly the principle of Ayurveda. Relative to the context. Every context has innumerable factors which contribute to the context. And it is so important to understand all these factors and find what is the best solution for that given context, which may vary for the very next person who has a similar problem but a different context. So Ayurveda is always about the context, about the individual. And that is why instead of talking about whether it's Ayurveda or allopathy, I would talk about whether we want to cure or to heal. Today there is a lot more study going into understanding curing and healing. We can cure without healing, and we can heal without curing. Ideally, we want healing with curing. What is curing? Curing is a reaction, an immediate solution, immediate addressal of the problem, not taking into account the entire context. What is healing? Healing is more long term. Curing addresses the pain, healing addresses the suffering of the pain. Healing is more long term, healing is more deep. Curing is done by external, the doctor or the medicine or the therapist. Healing is done by you. You are the healer. You take complete responsibility of the transformative process that is required to move from disease to ease. We use the word disease in curing. You cure a disease. But you use the word illness in healing. Because in healing, you are moving from illness to wellness, from the constricted I in illness to the expansive we in wellness. English language is sometimes nice, The journey from disease to ease is from I to the we. The more we expand, the better we heal. So any system that enables us to understand that healing is a journey. It is a long journey and helps us to engage in practices on a daily basis that creates a space, a sukha, a good space within and around us, which prevents the easy occurrence of disease in us. That is what we should aim for. It can be any healing modality. And when the problem happens, it depends on our individual tolerance levels, whether we want to go for immediate solutions or we can wait patiently for a more long term management, or whether we want to do a combination of the immediate and the long term. And Ayurveda provides for that. It talks about immediate addressal of symptoms combined with long term management of the problem. So it's completely about the individual, it is not about the system. What is it that I need? What is my level of tolerance? How willing am I to go through a process which may be a little long term but is beneficial in the long run? Those questions will determine what system I need to do or I need to take in the short run. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely. Thank you. Over to Ganga. We have, and you have, we all have many experiences of needing to heal or needing to be cured. In your opinion, and in your experience of being in Seva and being in the ashram, how do you overcome those problems personally, and how do you overcome them as a Seva to assist others in your service too? Do you strive to be 100% natural, or as natural as you can be, or as we've just heard, you choose a suitable modality, which seems a very sensible and very modern, may I say, it's a very modern approach to it, which has got a very ancient wisdom to it. Do you see that ancient wisdom in what you do where you're in service? Do you utilize that ancient wisdom alongside modern modalities?
Yes, and I think for most of us who don't have access to the type of experts who do know the ancient modalities to the extent that they can cure and heal us, we need to kind of figure out which pieces of this do we use in what extent to be the most effective functionally. And so if you're speaking about in seva, so the term itself, right, includes there's a level of functionality in the body and the mind. And so, yeah, if you've got a broken foot and it's throbbing, initially, if you need to do something, you know, I have to take care of this, but it's so painful that I do need a paracetamol, you know? And so you do what you need to in that moment, but I think it does then help you come to a place, because that injury often, from my experience, is a way of the universe telling you to slow down. You know, take rest. And so, and then you listen to that as well. And I think that a lot of the ancient traditions, yoga, ayurveda, they help us prevent disease in the first place. So, for example, a lot of autoimmune disorders have relapses of those symptoms coming back again and again. And for the last 14 years that I've been here, I've had no relapse of autoimmune disorder. I've not had high fevers. I haven't had inflammation to the, extent where I can't, make a fist, which was what I did have that back there. So I think that altogether, it is very useful for us to know how and when and to what extent do we use allopathic medicine, and how and when to what extent do we use Ayurveda and yoga in our daily lives. And if yoga and Ayurveda are there to a greater extent, then your reliance on allopathic medicine is less. And this is, I think, what the speaker that you were referring to yesterday was speaking to is, if you eat food as your medicine, there will be no need for medicine. And so that goes into the every single moment is an opportunity for you to be whole, for you to heal, for you to be in health. Every single moment is that opportunity. And that when we speak about, and this is what Ramkumar was saying with the S, the sa, swasth. In Hindi and Sanskrit, health is swasth. Yes? And in the Western tradition, we're just getting at what health is. Like WHO is saying, okay, it's not just the infirmity of disease, but it's well-being in the physical, mental, social spectrums of our life. And our own experience in India is so many other spectrums, spirituality also. And so swasth is really that ability to bring ourselves back to that grounding. And I think that that's what I've seen in my life, is how do we use all of this integratively to align with the flow of life.
Thank you. Thanks. We're getting really close. We've got not that much time left, but you're probably all aware with, especially like the modern world in YouTube, like I do partake. I tell all my students and my people who come to my yoga classes that I don't do social media and I don't look at the internet. That's a bit of a white lie, okay? I tend to have a different name, huh? So for my PhD studies, I tend to use a pseudonym because where I go tends to be quite dangerous with trolls. So I also look at YouTube quite a lot, and I do watch a lot of social media things that go on, but I pretend, and my apologies to all the people that know me really well, but I'd be an idiot not to. But what I study with my PhD demands a lot of secrecy. So one of the worst words that I come across every time I go on the internet is the word hack. What is your favorite hack? What hack would you get? What hack would you have? So, hacks. Let's see what their hacks are, huh? And a very short, before we ask a couple, you can ask a few questions in a moment, but I'm going to ask the first question when the hacks are over. But if you don't understand the term hack, it is what your favorite bit of advice, what one thing, like my hack is, one health and wellness superstar says, my major hack is creatine. Fantastic, your hack is creatine, huh? My hack is chlorella, huh? This week's hack is MSM. Tomorrow's hack is papaya seeds. I don't know. Everybody has a hack on YouTube, don't they? And they're trying to sell you a product usually with their hack. So, your favorite thing. Your hack. Edison, briefly, your favorite hack. You've got
I'll be very
1
brief.
minute on YouTube to sell Edison Mel's best hack.
Okay, my hack is spirit. And my hack, thank you. My hack, and we can do that together in 1 second, is realizing that we are not humans trying to have a spiritual experience. right? We are spiritual beings trying to have a human experience. It's the other way around. And we can do that by just realizing our own energy. So please put your hands on your chest right now, close your eyes and tap it all over. Just tap it. Cup your hands so that you won't hurt yourself. Tap, tap, tap. Then tap your neck, tap your head, tap again. Tap, 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 a little faster, a little faster, a little faster. Now stop. What you have just experienced is your own field of energy. That energy is my hack. The energy with which I wake up every day. My kids sometimes think that I'm slapping myself on the face like a crazy man. What I'm actually doing is reminding my body that I'm a spiritual being trying to have a human experience.
Thank you. Thanks very much. You understand hack?
Yeah, I understand hack.
Bravísimo.
I usually use it a lot, hack. In Spanish we say truco. You know, I have a phrase I usually use, but first I will say what is my hack. My hack is trust. We should trust the process. We should trust everything that appears in our life. It has a message. And I always say this phrase is that our mind is always in doubt, but our soul knows. So when we go deeper inside of us, we know. We're always asking, you know, for answers outside. So we go, and I used to do this when I came my first time to India, looking for, you know, outside answers. But if we go deeper inside of us, we have all the answers. But we need to trust, and that's my first and most important hack.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I agree with that. I think trusting in your own healing capacity is what I regularly tell people. And based on that trust, develop a set of practices. In yoga, you use the word abhyasa. Practice the same set of practices every day, same time, same duration, preferably same place, makes a big difference. And along with this trust and practice, laugh every day and never take yourself too seriously. This is what I think is most important. Thank you.
Thank you.
I learned a lot just hearing all of you today. That was so cool. Who could relate to at least one thing everyone said? Yeah? That's so awesome. So my hack. What I saw in clinic, one lady came to me saying, Allah is mad at me. Allah is mad at me. I said, why is Allah angry at you? Because I'm not doing my namaz every day. I said, then do it. No, I can't. I can't bend. My joints hurt. And she said she has rheumatoid arthritis. Another person said something similar. I can't poop for 7 days when they had come. My worst was 36 days, the one I've handled, but 7 days. And multiple such people come with the same problem that I can't do this, or I can't feel fulfillment, I can't do my chanting, I can't do my daily practice, I can't do my japa, or I can't connect to my creator. And every single person, dharmartha kama mokshanam, arogyam moolam uttamam, that anything you want to do, dharma, artha, your desires, or moksha, arogya, the freedom from disease, is the root of it. And today's world, 80% diseases are because of overnourishment. So my hack for anything, including dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, is eat only when you're hungry, eat 80% of your hunger, and honor your Agni. That's the most sacred fire. Before you light the fire of the yagna, light the fire within you. That's gonna let you reach everywhere. So that is my hack.
Good, thank you.
My hack is the Divine Mother, Ma Kali, Ma Ganga. So if I'm ever like anxious or there's, you know, I'm a little worried or I'm a little, you know, off, I see Ma Kali and she's my hack. She's my permanent, all time, always works hack.
Thank you. So we've got time for some questions. We've got almost 10, 12 minutes left. I get the honor of having the first question because I've sat up here and asked them questions. So, yep, 2 seconds. If you can give that man a microphone, please.
Here, you can use this one.
Sure, what is your hack?
My hack, I'll give my...
What is your hack, Stewart?
My hack is, thanks to my friend from Vienna, is like when you discover in your life that you have freedom and you want freedom, you'll find that liberty is the ability to say to people what they don't want to hear. We'll have all the questions together. Could we have the first question?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the panel, to what extent do you think that health and well-being is idiosyncratic, as in it changes person to person? And to what extent do you think there are general principles so that one size can fit many?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Question.
Thank you.
Idiosyncratic or not idiosyncratic?
Okay, so,
Yeah.
oh, sure.
First, thank you all so much. That was so inspirational. I've been struggling with some health issues for about 3 months, and I feel like I've tried everything, fasting, holistic, detoxing, like everything. And I'm at the point where it's like, I feel like I know the lesson, or I'm learning the lesson. But it's like, is there more learning of the lesson, or did I miss the wrong ancient technology or the treatment? Should I be going to Panchakarma? Is there something I'm missing? So kind of, I guess the big question is, how do you know when you're ready to go an ancient route or to go see a master or do something else? Or is it more of the surrender, the internal work? Just curious your perspective on that.
Thank you. So 2 questions, panel. One is there an idiosyncrasy to healing and wellness? And where do you go? Where do you go once you've tried several different ancient remedies and you want to go somewhere else? Where do you go to? Is that okay? Where do you go to next? What's my next step?
Okay, so the first question, how do you know, right, about your own experience of health and wellness? And how do you bridge that gap? There's 8 billion plus people on the planet, and there's 8 billion plus fingerprints. What that means is that we are all different. We may look the same, we may have genetic identities sometimes, or similarities, but deep inside, your experience is uniquely yours, just like a fingerprint. And so, moving forward in health, it's really, for me, a question of listening to your body, and that also can answer your question. How do you know you're ready for the next step? Your question means you're ready. When you pose the question, am I ready for the next step? That means that your body's telling you yes. The right question is now.
Thank you. María.
Well, I will go for your question first. I also agree that when we have this doubt, we already know we have to do it. But sometimes we fear. But the fear is like a great master when we can, go forward that fear. So whatever you feel, you must do it. You should trust. As I was saying, my hack is trust. Because we are always wondering what we should do, and we want answers from outside. But you should trust yourself and go deeper. How can you, I think that the question should be how you can go deeper inside you to find that answer. I think that's the real thing you should do. Thank you.
Gracias.
Well, I think the moment I use the word tried, I am not doing, I am not serious enough. I have to do consistently and persistently. Healing is a journey, as I said earlier. And if I keep moving from one modality to the other, I'm not doing justice to myself. So when I have to trust in myself, I first need to study sufficiently. I need to trust also in that one person, maybe a friend, maybe a family member, maybe a guru, maybe a practitioner, whom I will listen to unconditionally till I clear the tamas, the deluded state of mind in which most of us mostly operate, which does not allow me to hold a mirror to myself. Until I get that clarity, I will need to temporarily trust in somebody in my close circle. And once I get that clarity, I trust in myself. And I have to stay with one modality. I think that's so important. We keep searching, we keep looking for, outwards, whereas what is important is to go inwards, trust in myself, stay with the practice, and the healing will happen at some point of time. Thank you.
I just want to acknowledge one thing about you. I said, do I call you Vaidya, doctor? He said, no, just call me Ramkumar. I'm dropping all titles. I loved what he did. For both of the beautiful questions, one is that especially if you think that, is there one thing that can cure this? Or do I need to keep searching? In our texts, there is something called as, and like you spoke about the 8 billion fingerprints, and that's just now. Humans have been more than 8 billion since the past thousands of years. So there are more than 8 billion fingerprints. Maybe one or two were the same, I don't know. But I see the world in this way, that there is something that ties us all together. And Ayurveda has said that the qualities are 20 in number. They're called as Gurvadi Gun. 20 qualities that create everything, which are all in the 5 elements, in the 3 doshas, the 7 tissues, everywhere. These 20 qualities are there. If it's bhautik, which is on this planet, which is materialistic, it has one of the 20 qualities or each of them. But the things that come out as a result of the merging of those 20 qualities will be unlimited, like the fingerprints, like the plants. New species are created every day and many die. But the important thing is to understand what are those 20 qualities, which ones in you are predominant or which have come so much that now they're causing an imbalance, and what outside you have the opposite of those, so that you can expose them to yourself and reduce them. Does that make sense? So, and just specifically for you, I would be happy to even see your pulse post my session and just to be there. I made a promise that whoever says, do a marma for me, do a pulse, I'll say yes. If it takes too many people, then it'll take time, but I'll not say no if it's in the yoga festival. So I believe this. And slightly deeper, if we have a minute more, that there are basic qualities in today's time, which is from the last 50 years, maybe to the next 10 years, which Papa said and Mummy said, and I have observed, are very common in almost every 80 to 90% of the people living today, which vitiate most commonly, because the world today has a few causative factors for disease which are gonna be everywhere, nearly everywhere. So in that case, to solve diseases today, we need to create things that are opposite of that and just set like this much home remedy or this much in your lifestyle. I like doing that. Like today is dedicated to specific gut diseases and that reverses that. But you need to find out what causes the disease and just common things that reverse that in today's time. There are commonalities. So yeah, thank you.
I think I'll just answer the first question. I think sufficiently have answered the second question. I believe, I don't know a good percentage, but I feel like a 60-40% is a good place to be. And I feel like things like being in nature, eating local, seasonal, having a more balanced approach to life where it's not just all work or all family or, there's just these basic core principles. And I think if you apply those basic core principles, there's a lot more spaciousness for health. So I think it's about 60% that these basic core principles will put you in alignment. But there is that 40% that is our own karmashe, our own coming into this world with our own sanskaras. So whereas raw food might be great for somebody, it might not be so good for you. And so those little pieces, I think, account for that other percentage. And I think as we go through life at different places in our life, different parts of that will have different importance. So sometimes that 40% will be really important at this point because you're really missing out on that. So I think it's something that you navigate, but there are certain core principles that you can kind of get yourself into alignment with.
Thank you, Ganga. Thanks very much. We've just about run out of time. I'm going to ask you just one thing, just to close your eyes. Just to close your eyes, bring your hands in a prayer over your heart. You've been called to some places. I'm sure you will hear from our esteemed Puja Sadhviji. She'll constantly tell you that you've been called to this place for a reason, huh? You've heard at least 4 or 5 people mention, I came to India, I came to India. You didn't go to Amsterdam. You didn't go to Bangkok. You didn't go to Taiwan or Beijing. You didn't go anywhere else. You came to India for a reason. You came to the banks of the Ganga because when you're by the banks of the Ganga, you realize that the Ganga has no discrimination, no expectation. There's no hesitation, there's no confrontation, there's no vacation when you come to the Maganga. But there's one thing you really must remember. All the science and all the modern science and all the medicine of the modern scientists, the shaman, the modern shaman, the climate scientists say that in 50 years' time, there may well be no Banganga. If temperatures keep rising and global warming continues and climate change continues, we will not be bothered about natural medicine, we will not be bothered about allopathic medicine, we won't care about whether you're a vegan or whether you're a carnivore, we won't care what your social caste or status is, because it will be too late. You need a state of deep adaptation if you're going to survive the next 100 years on this planet. Maybe not us, but our children and our children's children. So what you experience here today and what you experience at the festival may not be available to your children and your grandchildren because the temperatures will be so great you cannot sit on the Ganga at the Ghat anymore. So your first priority must be climate change. Your first priority must be to stop the extinction of this little blue dot. Think about it for a moment. Nothing exceeds climate change in importance. And we need to be really, it's our duty, we need to be really ready to oppose and stop the forces of power that come into dominance at this moment in time that will really try to not stop climate change and reinvest in oil. And it's our duty to just stop oil. It's our duty to stop oil. We need to live without oil. We need to stop the greed and the profit surrounding oil. Think about it. Meditate on it. The Buddha said to ponder is mindfulness. Ponder over it, reflect with analysis, with awareness. Asatoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritamgamaya Om, Om, Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. As one Puja Swami says, try to be at peace and not in pieces. Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat. Give you a big hand for Ramkumar. Woo! Big hand for Dr. Krushna Naram. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you. For Edison de Mello, Dr. Edison, thank you for your time, your energy. María, Alejandra, can't say it. Thanks very much. And Ganga Nandini, give yourselves a big hand as well for coming. Thank you all. Thank you.
There's a little booklet that I had to prepare for you guys with some information about gut health. It's over there, so feel free to get it.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
And I would love if everybody who would like to be in a group photo can come forward and we can take a little group photo together.
Quick, it's for my Insta-wank page. Hurry up.